So glad you have joined us. I'm Brandon, and today's video is all about a great new water filtration system, some tire safety information, all sorts of great stuff, as I have a conversation with Rich Luhr, who is the publisher of the Airstream Life Magazine, as well as the co-owner of the Airgear store. Now then, this is not just for Airstreamers. This is great for leisure travel vans or any RV, because this new water filtration system I'm really excited about. In fact, I just placed my order today. And so I'm really excited because we're not going to have to carry around that giant Berkey any longer to make sure we've got fresh drinking water. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Now then, if this is your first time on the channel, you like Airstreams, you like leisure travel vans, you like RVs, travel, whatever it may be, this is the channel for you. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, give me the old thumbs up. I really appreciate all of those interactions because it helps YouTube say that people like this video and share it with other people to get this information. Now then, let's jump over to my conversation with Rich and let's learn all about this incredible new water filtration system and more. Here we are with Rich Luhr from Airgear, the Airgear store, which is different than it was last time, I think. Rich, tell us about that.
Very different. So last year we were the Airstream Life store because we were a spin-off of Airstream Life Magazine. Now we've split the company. It's a completely separate operation. Airgear is the name, and we're the same people and the same owners and same products, but it's now Airgear.
Yeah, well, I like that. That's a great name, Airgear, because that's what it is. It's gear for your Airstream. Exactly. But not just gear for your Airstream, because I use a lot of your gear in my leisure travel van as well, and I do know a lot of people are especially that coiled water hose. Since I put that on the website, and I'll see almost daily in my email, another person has purchased the coiled water hose. So that's a great hose. So just for people who like, what are you talking about, the coiled water hose? What would tell us about that?
Oh, well, see, that's like a lot of our products. We say, we market it to the Airstreams, but it really works on any brand of RV. Mm-hmm. And the water hose is a perfect example. So we've got this coiled blue water hose that basically solves all the problems of your standard RV water hoses. Standard RV water hoses are usually made out of vinyl of some type. They're really cheap. They burst. If you freeze them, they break. If you run over them with your truck, they break. They eventually develop pinhole leaks or aneurysms, all kinds of problems. They're kind of junky. And they also, you get kind of a flavor in the water if the hose sits out on a hot day in the sun. If the water heats up in there and it leaches some of those chemicals into your water, and you can taste it. I don't like them, so we came up with a better hose. And our hose doesn't do any of those things. It's absolutely guaranteed against anything for 5 years. You pretty much can't destroy it. It can take high water pressure without a pressure regulator. It doesn't leach chemicals. And it's because it's a coil, it just coils itself back up when you're done using it. And it comes in this cute little carry bag. So that's the kind of thing we develop. We try to come up with better mousetrap solutions for all the problems that RVers run into, even if they don't even know it's a problem, like cheap hoses that we replace every year.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, since I got it, I've never looked back. And so, we used to use 0G hoses, which are fine. However, it's not even close as good as your hose. So I do love the hose. So yeah, let me just preface this, that our talk today is probably going to, we're going to focus a little bit on Airstream. I have an Airstream Globetrotter. You have an Airstream Globetrotter. However, your company, sells a lot of stuff that can help every single RV. Now, there are a few, Airstream probably only, like you probably don't sell a lot of rivet kits to other people. Yeah. And so, I don't think I've had my Airstream for a year now, and I don't think I've had a single rivet pop out yet. Knock on wood. So anyway, but I have not yet got a rivet set, so I probably need to holler at you and get a rivet set. Yeah. But what we'll say right quick first, if you are an Airstream owner, is this book right here that you've written, and it's the second edition. So tell us about this book, and I have looked through it, already actually used it once as for some of how to do something. So tell us about this book, and obviously you wrote it to help the Airstream community, but is it something that could also help other RVers?
Well, yes, to a certain extent. So I wrote the first edition of this book about 2015. So it's been a while. Mm-hmm. And it was...
Lots changed since 2015.
A lot has changed. So I just did the second edition of the book just this last year with a ton of updates because Airstream changed everything in 2020, 2021. They went to composite floors. They went to tankless water heaters. Let's see here. They brought ducted air conditioning into more trailers. What else? They started going with lithium batteries. They started installing more solar standard on more trailers. Backup cameras became standard on more trailers. All these changes occurred over the past few years, and it became clear I just needed to do a second edition. So I revised the book. It's about 30, 40 pages thicker now, and I kind of got all that stuff in there. I will say, to answer your question, it's probably, I'd say it's probably 60% Airstream specific stuff, and the other 40% would apply to almost any brand of RV. Because, for example, when you're talking about a water heater with a tank or a tankless water heater, there's only a few brands out there, and they're all the same, with minor differences. The procedures to maintain them are pretty similar. When you're talking about replacing a rivet, yeah, that's an Airstream thing. But when you're talking about good maintenance practices, cleaning, lubricating, inspections during storage and when you're on the road, those things are applicable to just about every kind of RV, even if you have a motorhome versus a travel trailer. This is really a travel trailer book, but even motorhome owners, there's things that you should do. And I don't think they're talked about in an authoritative way often enough. You read stuff on the internet and it's not very reliable. There's a lot of people talking who really don't know what they're talking about, and that kind of pains me. I think you've probably seen some of the influencer videos out there where somebody's out there and says they're a technician or something, and then they give some horribly bad advice. That's really wrong. And you're just wincing the whole time going, no, that's not right. Don't say that. That happens to me all the time. So that was one of the reasons why I wrote the book. I wanted to have, to kind of write it down and say, look, this has been researched. This is documented. This is reliable information that you can trust.
Well, and you not just write that book, you actually are the publisher of Airstream Life Magazine, which Airstream, when you buy an Airstream actually gives you a year of that publication for free. And ours just popped up for renewal, and I did renew, by the way. So, thank you. Yeah, I really enjoy that magazine, and so I would say that if Airstream trusts you to publish their official magazine. I mean, I'm not, but or I guess it is kind of their official magazine.
Yeah, we don't talk about that much, but it's Airstream and I have had a long relationship since 2004. There's a lot of trust on both sides. They give me access to their technicians and their information. And, everybody over there is great. We've worked together for almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I publish the magazine. They don't look over my shoulder and tell me what to publish. They don't second guess it. They get their copies just like everybody else, and they look at it, and I get notes from them once in a while saying, "Wow, I really like this issue. Good job."
That's good.
So that mutual relationship. I'm not an employee of Airstream. We're not formally affiliated, but we've had this partnership for a long time.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And so if you are a new Airstream owner, or if you are, had an Airstream for a while, I guarantee you can benefit from this book. And so you learn something new every day. And so I'll have this at PicosaSupply.co, or we'll have the links to the Air Gear store as well down below. But yes, I think that's a very valuable thing to carry around with you. Because when you're out on the road, you may need to fix, you got to figure out, what's the lug nut, torque pressure, which obviously you do a great job, and you sell a tire kit, which I think is everybody. I'll just say this right now. If you are buying an Airstream, or you just bought an Airstream, just go over to the Air Gear store and get the essentials. That's going to be that tire changing kit. Probably get you a rivet gun. Now, I haven't done that yet. I haven't needed it yet, but I'm going to do it. And what are some of those other essentials? Obviously, the coiled water hose. What else?
We have a kit we call the Maintenance Essentials Kit, which is this neat little zipper bag that's got a bunch of stuff in it that you otherwise would never think to carry, but it's absolutely indispensable if you have a problem on the road. It's little lubricants and little bits and bobs, let's just say, that are in that kit. I recommend that one to people just to get started. Let's see, tire changing kit, water hose, you covered that. I recommend people get a tire pressure monitoring system. That's not...
Yes, I did.
We sell TST. I think it's the best out there. It's the only one we would recommend to anybody. It's not our product. You can buy it from lots of places, so I'm not being totally self-serving here in saying this, but when you're towing a trailer, I think tire pressure monitoring is really important. That's something I recommend to people as a safety piece. It's not sexy, but it's one of those things that really makes a big difference the day you get an unexpected flat. You know, you're going down the road, you get a nail in a tire, you will not know until the damage happens if you don't have tire pressure monitoring. So
you're exactly right. And so, I did. I bought the TST from you guys, and in fact, I just upgraded my. I haven't said it yet, which you can kind of give me some advice here. So I did buy the big color monitor, the new color monitor. Okay. Now, what do I need to do do I need to take off my sensors from the wheels and redo them?
If you're upgrading to the 770 color monitor, you do not need to remove the sensors to reprogram it. You just take that new monitor and basically you touch through the menus on the touchscreen and you put it right next to the sensor and it'll just reprogram itself.
Okay, so I can just go tire to tire and reprogram that.
Yeah, and don't forget the spare if you got a sensor for your spare.
Yes, that's right. That's right, underneath, yeah. I don't think I did, but I need to buy another sensor.
I think it's great having a sensor for the spare because it's so much easier. You don't have to take the spare out to check the tire pressure in it and make sure you got air in it.
Because there's nothing be worse than having a flat, taking your spare out, and it's also flat. And that
It happens all the time.
Seems counterproductive.
The one nice thing, though, I'll tell you, you may not know this about Airstreams. If you've got a tandem axle Airstream, so you got 4 tires, if you really are stuck, you can tow it on 3 wheels.
Okay.
And just take the wheel off completely. Keep your speed down. Don't go 70 miles an hour. Keep it under 50. But you can tow up to, Airstream will say, hey, take it 100 miles if you have to on those 3 tires. Make sure the other 3 are fully inflated. So you got the load. And then you can tow it to a service center and get it dealt with.
Okay, so that's very important to take the wheel off because obviously if you do have flapping rubber, you can totally mess up your trailer.
Totally.
And so
the tire will start to shred and those big pieces of rubber will just come rip the aluminum and you'll have a huge bill. So
okay, so take the tire completely off and then you roll down the road very carefully about 100 miles. That's a great pro tip
that I talk about in here. By the way.
Yeah, that's a great pro tip. And when I bought the ramp, the tire changing ramp. So basically, if you're a tandem axle, then you can use your other wheel as your jack, so to speak.
Exactly.
And then you don't have to worry about putting a jack in the wrong place and puncturing your underbelly and all of that good stuff. So
not only that, is it to lift a really big trailer requires a really big jack, which you're probably not going to have with you anyway. I have a video on our YouTube channel, which people might want to watch. It's 18 minutes long, and it shows the entire process of changing a tire on an Airstream.
Yeah, I did watch that.
Okay, so if you just go to the Air Gear channel and you look for how to change a tire on an Airstream, you'll find it. And it's an old video, but it's still very, very relevant. And that's the most popular video I've ever made. That one gets so many views because everybody wants to know how to change a tire, and it's really close.
Yeah, for sure. I watched that. Very helpful. And so if you have now what happens if you have a single axle and you can't use the old ramp to lift up the other tire? Tell us about that.
Yeah, you're going to have a jack. What I recommend to people is that they pack a bottle jack, the kind that's sort of a vertical tube. A bottle jack, not a floor jack is too big. You don't want to be carting that around in your truck all the time. But a bottle jack, get one that's got a nice tall reach and it can lift at least the full weight of your trailer. So if you've got a trailer that's 4,000 pound empty, make sure you got a 4,000 pound bottle jack. And you might need a few blocks underneath the bottle jack to get it up high enough. But put the bottle jack in the place that Airstream recommends. They've got a little sticker and an arrow, and the owner's manual describes the exact spot that you need to put it. You got to put it in the right spot, or you'll punch a hole in the belly pan.
Yes.
Yeah. But a bottle jack will do the job on a single axle trailer. So, and those you can buy them, any hardware store, any auto parts store has bottle jacks.
Yeah, and single axles are 23 and below, 25 and up are dual.
Generally speaking, yes. There are some 23s that are dual axle. My 23 is a dual axle.
Okay. So there are some 23s that are dual axle. Okay.
Yes, there are. It depends on the year. Yeah. Yeah,
but definitely like Bambis, base camps,
sports. Sport was before Bambi. Your 16, 19 footers, 20 footers for sure are going to be single axle trailers.
Okay. So, but if you are a dual axle, I highly recommend getting one of those ramps, and you don't have to carry a jack around, and you don't have to worry about puncturing the underside of your belly. That would not be. But yes,
much worse.
Yeah. So, a lot of people, when we ordered our Airstream, we had our leisure travel van for a while, and then we ordered the Airstream, and I still have both. So I'm a dual RVer still, motorhome and travel trailer. But when I ordered the Airstream, obviously I just watched a ton of your videos. I watched a lot of, Long Honeymoon, all of the Airstreamers out there, Keep You Daydream, and they all give throughout the, throw in some tips and everything. But I can tell you, get this and read it before you get your Airstream, and you will have some really, really good knowledge going up into that. And then watch all the videos as well. Obviously watching videos is generally a little funner than reading all the time, but that book will give you some great information in order to do that. Now then, okay, let's talk water, because you sent me an email about your new water filtration system, which I'm extremely interested in. I got to get one. And so, but before I do that, I told you briefly, but you had mentioned I think in 20 or 21, Airstream started putting in the Girard water heaters, tankless. And they are literally one of the worst things on the planet.
Let me tell you, they are developing a reputation as sort of the antichrist of water heaters.
I mean,
everybody seems to hate them.
Oh, it is terrible. Because again, we have our leisure travel van, and we have the most beautiful Truma water heater on demand, truly on demand, never gets cold, and it's absolutely wonderful. So I took our Airstream just about 3 weeks ago. I took it over to A&P Trailers just down the road from here, buddy Paul and Graham there, and they put in a beautiful Truma, yanked that Girard out, and they set it over with about 20 other Girards of other Airstreamers that had been there and doing it. He goes, I got a Girard graveyard right there. And so they are doing it. They're doing some Truma water heater. And so I haven't used it yet, but I'm so excited. And I know Janet is, because Janet hated that Girard because it'll just go cold, like in the middle, and then it'll take 30 seconds or more to even get up to temperature. By then you've put in a gallon or two into your gray tank. It's just, anyway. So I'm excited about my Truma upgrade in my Airstream, and excited to use that. Now then, so let's talk about filtering that water. Oh, go ahead.
Before you go there, I got to throw in a tip for you, okay? Because I have been hearing complaints like yours, although not nearly as amusing, about the Girard water heaters for 2 years now. When I was researching this book, every other phone call and email I got was about about a Girard. They are problematic. There's no question about it. But I will tell you, a lot of people have been able to solve their problems simply by lowering the temperature at thermostat control. It's paradoxical. You think, hey, it's giving me cold water, I should raise the temperature. Maybe that won't happen anymore. No, that's the problem. You want to lower the temperature to the absolute bare minimum that you can stand, so that when you're in the shower, you got to run it full hot in order to get a warm shower. For most people, that's about 104, 105 degrees. Okay. When you do that, you're forcing a lot of water to go through the water heater. The reason that helps is because the Girard is designed to shut off when the water flow, the hot water flow, goes below about 0.9 gallons per minute. So in other words, if you have the temperature set high, it doesn't have to run a lot because it's producing very hot water, and so it only has a small amount of water going through it. Okay. If it's temperature low, it's got to run all the time to keep the water going, and that forces more flow through the heater. For some people, that solves the problem. First thing I would try. Then I got a couple of other suggestions in a blog, and then, I hate to suggest people do what you did because I'm sure it wasn't a cheap fix, but that may be the way a lot of people go. I'm just glad I have a 2020.
You definitely have real hot water. I think I would still trade it, because I saw that on Facebook one time. I didn't try it, but I really loved the Truma in our leisure so much that I knew we would be happy with that. And in the sense that it is literally instant hot water as well, because the Girard does not have a reservoir. Yeah. The Truma has I think it's a 1.9 liter reservoir that if you put on, you have to put it on a setting, and it keeps that 1.9 liters hot at your desired temperature at all times. So you go over the kitchen, you go in the shower, you turn it on, and in literally 2 seconds, it's your temperature coming out, and that gives it enough time to recuperate that it just never stops. Because when you're out, those gray tanks, what do you think my gray tank is on the 27-footer? Probably 30?
27 is probably 40 gallons or so.
40 gallons. That 40 gallons goes fast when you're camping. And so, the least amount of waste you can have in the shower or whatever is better. And so the Girard will still take a minimum 30 seconds, I would imagine, if I remember correctly. I haven't necessarily timed it exact, but I know it's a long time, and all that water's running right down to your drain, cold water. So, okay, so
totally agree.
Yeah, so if you don't want to spend the money and rip out the Girard, then Rich's tip there is fantastic. So, I'll have to ask one of my friends that has not made the switch to try that, and then we'll give a real life update on that. Yeah, for sure. But yes, I do know. Yeah, I did see that on Facebook at one point, so I know that it is a thing, and hopefully will work for the people who don't want to replace. Now then, let's talk about water filtration, because I was about to do something drastic until I got your email about your new water filter system. And so I am not going to do something drastic. I'm just going to do what you have now. So tell us about it.
Okay, so it was in the same position as you. I really wanted to improve the water coming into the Airstream. I've always used one of those cheap inline, blue plastic Camco filters that basically is just a charcoal filter, and it gets out sediment. That's all it does.
Yeah.
And we occasionally dip into Mexico with our Airstream, and I really wanted to have better water filtration going into the trailer. So I looked into some of the drastic solutions too, and for the same reasons as you, decided not to go with them. The one we've got now is just awesome. It's a 2-canister water filtration system, sort of actually it comes in a 2 or 3. You can get
and I'll shoot a picture of it up in this as well.
It's the thing I love about it is it does the same thing as much, much bigger filters, but it fits inside the side compartment of an Airstream. So it's actually quite small. It's very lightweight. It's made of, it's actually 3D printed, and it's 3D printed plastic and aluminum. Very, very light. And so it's tiny. It fits into the compartment. It doesn't weigh much. So, my wife doesn't mind hauling it out and hooking it up. She thinks it's cool. It comes with these cool stainless steel disconnects. So it's a quick connect. You don't have to screw your hose on every time. You just pop it on there. And it does a great job. I mean, it's really a good filter. And it's about the same as other filters, but with, less weight and less size. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is exactly what I've been looking for. Gets your water down to 0.2 microns.
And isn't that even smaller than COVID, right?
It's, I've got a diagram on my site. I can't remember. No, it's not. COVID is a virus. Viruses are smaller than that.
Okay.
It will get out most bacteria, any parasites, sediment, a lot of chemicals. It does a great job at all that stuff. If you want viral protection in a water filter, you've got to go to something much, much bigger and more expensive, which is just generally not practical for.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you can get COVID the easy way. You don't have to worry about it through your water. When I saw your solution, I was like, that's genius, because I have seen other solutions that are minimally twice as big. Yeah. Minimally. And I'm like, I really don't want to carry that around with me. And so even though now we do have the blue water filter, and again, this is for any RV. This is not just Airstream. So leisure travel van folks, Class A folks, anybody, this is an RV product, not an Airstream product. So we did do the blue Camco, but our drinking water, 100% I run it through a Berkey, right? And we carry our Berkey with us when camping. So this will enable me not to carry that Berkey around anymore, right?
That's right. As a matter of fact, we just heard from a customer. He put a review on our site, which is very nice. And he said, we've abandoned the Berkey. We don't need it now. Because
that's awesome.
A Berkey sits on the counter and it filters the water, like a Brita pitcher kind of does. And with this, the water coming into your Airstream, it's going into your tank, it's going into your plumbing system, your water pump, everywhere is filtered. So you don't have to just filter it when you drink it, which I think is better, because nobody thinks about filtering the water that they're brushing their teeth with. or the water that they're showering that's turning into steam and they're breathing it in, or the water that they're giving to the dog maybe, or they're using for cooking their pasta. That's all unfiltered if you've got a tabletop one. But with an external filter like this, everything is cleaned up to 0.2 microns. So you really get great water out of it. And a lot of people we've heard from 2 people who said we've abandoned the Berkey, and we've also heard from several people who said we had the big 10-inch canister filter thing that was gigantic and had to sit in the back of a truck and it weighs 30 pounds. They said we got rid of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't need it anymore.
So how long do the filters last in, and are they hard to change out?
They're very easy to change out. They give you a little tool with the thing. Actually, they give you 2 of these tools in case you lose one. You basically just unscrew them. There's this stainless steel canisters that come off and the filter sits inside. It's dead simple. Anyone can do it. The filters last, they say, about 10,000 gallons, which realistically in an RV environment, unless you're full timing, you're not going to run that much water through it. So for most people, it's more of a matter of time. I would recommend replacing the filters every year for most people.
Okay.
Sort of use. You can buy the filters directly from Blue Technologies. They're about $45.
Do you sell the filters as well?
We don't yet. We may in the future. But in the meantime, they can be bought direct from the manufacturer too.
Okay. But if somebody wants this entire system, they can get on Air Gear right now and...
Yep.
Okay.
With new filters installed. Yep.
Perfect. I will put a link to that down in the description as well. So jump over there, and I'm going to get mine ASAP too, by the way. So
I bet you're going to love it. I love it.
Yes. In fact, it's exactly what I was looking for, because I was dreading doing the drastic one, just because you do have to drill into your countertop, and I was really not wanting to do that. That seems like a one-shot deal, really.
Yeah, and heaven help you if you screw it up.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I've had this system for about a year now, and I still have not installed it just for that reason. I've been scared to do it, but this is so perfect. So I'm
plug and play. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it is a little expensive. However, so it's the Berkey. The Berkey is almost the same price, basically. And so you just have an inline Berkey, basically. So all of your water is filtered, not just what you pour in there. And so it's you don't have to think about it. You don't have to sit there and fill the Berkey up. And there's nothing I hate worse than when I go over to get some water and the Berkey's empty.
Yeah, now you got to wait.
Now you got to wait because it's not fat. Because it does a good job of filtering, so it's not just. I mean, it's a drip, not a So it's the Berkey does a good job. Don't let me set anybody wrong on that. The Berkey does an excellent job. It's just that this cuts out steps. It's just basically it's like instant. So because it's going right through.
And to the price point you mentioned, expensive. And I will tell people, there are no good, cheap water filters.
Yeah.
If you're going to get a good system that really filters the water well, you're going to spend $400 or more. That's just the reality of it. You can get those inline Camco ones that they sell on Amazon and RV stores and Walmart and everything. One of those things, $30, something like that. You get what you pay for. That's a filter that will stop sand and small dogs.
And you don't need to put this in line. You don't need to put one of those cheap Camcos in line with this because it has a sediment filter already, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that would be totally useless. Yeah.
This is a one-stop solution. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to that because whoever designed that was fantastic because it did make it to where it's not a burden. What's it weigh? Like 10 pounds?
Top of my head, I think it's about 10 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. So Janet could easily set that up and, outside of those giant 30-pound things you're talking about, getting in the back of the truck and then pulling it out, that just does not sound fun at all. Because that's what I look for when we're going out, whether it's in the leisure or whether it's in the Airstream. When we get to a place, I'm not wanting to climb in the back of the truck. I'm not wanting to spend an hour just to get the water going. I want to be done with it. I've been driving for 6 hours or whatever it is. I'm ready to, chill out, right?
That's how I felt. I never could get myself behind one of those big canister filters things because it was just too much stuff. And my wife actually, our deal is that I do the outside stuff. I unhitch and level and this and that, but she does the inside stuff. And if she gets to it before me, She does the utilities. And if this thing was a pain to hook up, if it was heavy to lift, or it was hard to get it out of the truck, or if it had, a lot of threading on of connections instead of the quick connects, she probably would find something else to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you, Janet would be capable of doing it. She just wouldn't want to do it, and again, but we're the same way. Janet does all the inside stuff, and first thing I do is obviously I want the, especially if we're in Texas, you want that air conditioner going faster than ever. Now, speaking of air conditioning, I was at CES. I go to CES every year in Las Vegas, the tech show. And this year they had more RV and camping gear than I've ever seen in my life out there. And obviously the world is pandemic, I think, obviously put more people into RVing than any other single year. I ran into the Jackery folks, and they have a brand new power system that actually has a 30 amp plug in it. Wow. Okay. And so it's, now we use Lithionics battery, so I can run I'm about to do our big Lithionics upgrade in our Airstream. I haven't done that yet, but I did it in our leisure travel van. So I can run my air conditioner from our battery system. And so, but when I saw this Jackery, that it's about 3,000 watt hours, 30 amp, 3,000 watt inverter, in this thing that weighs 60 pounds. You could totally take this in the back of your truck, and you want to stop for lunch in the Airstream, whatever you may want to do. You could literally plug your Airstream into that, or your RV into that, and run your air conditioner from a portable battery bank. Have you heard that before?
I had not. I hadn't seen that product. The only time I've seen where you could do that is some of the electric vehicles or the hybrid electric trucks.
Yeah, the Ford has a...
Yeah, they've got a power outlet in the back there.
Yeah.
But basically what you're saying with the size of this battery and the size of that inverter, you could run your AC off it for hours, potentially.
Yeah.
Depending on cycling.
Yeah. You'd probably, I don't think you would have to have a soft start. You'd probably want one, though, just to be sure.
I would want to look at the characteristics. The battery should be able to come up to snuff, and the inverter shouldn't be. But the devil's in the details, so that certainly wouldn't hurt.
Yeah. And in fact, they had an Airstream there. The owner of Jackery has an Airstream, and it was there on the show floor in Las Vegas there. With that hooked up to it. So I'm anxious to look at that and to actually test that out and see, will it really run the air conditioner? And if that's the case, if somebody didn't want to do a huge, multi battery system inverter upgrade, this might be a good solution for them to just carry a 60-pound portable power bank. That could potentially run your air conditioner for, even if it was for an hour. That's what, if you just wanted to, keep your dogs in there safe while you went out to eat or something, on the side of the road. So anyway, I thought that was a very interesting thing because on the other side of air conditioning, now I told you this before we started recording, and so it's a mod I'm wanting to do that I saw recently, which is replacing the air vents. Your air conditioning, what would you call those? Air registers, I guess?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Replacing those with it's a $12 on Amazon, and I'm totally doing this because the air register that Airstream puts in there is really annoying too, because it limits the air. It was over-engineered basically, right? So it has the vents, but it also has a baffle inside where you can move it around. So it's way over-engineered. And I don't know how recently, mine's in 2022. I don't know if yours is the same exact air registers, but this you can, but you have to drill up into a rivet, I understand, to take out the air register. And then you can pop these in. You have to do a few little modifications, but you fill that in. And the guys that I know that have done this said their airflow doubled. And one guy even said, I have 2 air conditioners. I don't even feel I need to run 2 air conditioners anymore. It's that much airflow.
Well, it's intriguing sounding. My concern would be that if the fan on the air conditioner isn't putting out enough air, and then you basically open up all those registers full, are you getting weak air in all of them? In my particular trailer, again, it may be the baffles that you're talking about that are causing the problem, but I find that I need to actually shut down partially a few of the vents to get the air to go where I want to. So I'm not sure if it's because those baffles are just creating inefficiencies in the airflow, or, in which case I would benefit from this solution, or if I really do need to create a little bit of back pressure on the air conditioner at some of the vents in order to have the other ones be powerful.
I think it could be something where you could probably do a few of them and not all of them too.
Sure.
Because we have two in the living area of our Airstream that seem like it's where you want to be, but I think that's the furthest away from the air conditioner, and I feel like those really could use, like, it's the airflow coming out of them, I feel is limited, just because when you look up into those air registers, there literally is another piece in there that you can turn around and so yeah. So again, I just think it's over-engineered. So I'm going to try it and see. I'll let you know how it goes. And so, but the guys I've talked to said it really changed the game for them.
That's good to hear, because I have a single AC in a 23-foot trailer, and I am in southern Arizona. So I've got the same kind of heat as you do in Texas. And air conditioning is everything. It's almost infeasible for us to camp in July and August here because it's so hot.
Yeah. Well, that's in July and August. We get the heck out of Texas. We head to altitude, so we head up to either Pagosa Springs or Creed, or the places that we love up there. And 70-degree days and 40-degree nights are kind of my jam.
That's it. That's why you got wheels. That's great.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. All right, what have we not talked about? So we've got the water filter, which I think is a fantastic thing that I'm going to be doing. Yep. And then, of course, your Airstream Essentials. Now then, I know on the last time we did talk a little bit about tire safety, and we did get into the TST system. But now then, I see so many people talking about tire pressure in those tires, saying they've got to be at 80 pounds. Or is it 80?
80 is a common pressure for many travel trailer tires, but not all. Some of them are 65 or 60. Depends on the tire, how the weight of the trailer, what tire they put on it originally.
Okay, so what is your opinion? Should you put them all the way up to 80?
Well, I do. I actually wrote a long blog about this because I get this question a lot, and it gets into kind of an involved answer. Now, first of all, if you have a motorhome, you should follow the placarded indication, the weights and pressures that are indicated right at the left driver's side door. There's a placard there. It tells you what pressures to run. Just run those. That's definitely my recommendation. But when you're talking about travel trailers, they don't do the same thing. There's a placard on the side of the Airstream that says, well, if say you came with 80 psi load range D tires, then I run them at 80. There's no downside to it that I can see. Some people think it makes the ride too firm and that rivets break. I think that's really a myth. I don't think that's actually what's going on there. If you want to lower the pressure, the manufacturers of the tires publish these load inflation tables, in which case, if you know the weight of your trailer, you can lower the pressure to the number indicated on this table. So say you've got a trailer that nominally 5,000 pounds, but you've weighted, it's only 4,000. You can go to this thing and the thing will tell you, hey, great, you don't have to run 80 PSI. You can run 60 PSI. I'm just making up numbers here. So you can look up the load inflation tables for the brand of tires you have and see what pressure is recommended for that weight. But the trick there is, and I don't like that for a number of reasons. One is, if the weight changes, you have to change the air pressure. Load on a bunch of stuff. Two is, if you have a slow leak and you're already at the minimum pressure that you should run, you don't have any leeway there. Whereas if you run it at 80 PSI and maybe you only needed 65, but you're running them at 80 anyway because that's legit, you can have that slow leak for a long time and you're not going to go below the minimum pressure that you have. So I like having that buffer. I have not noticed any problem with any of my Airstreams, and I've owned many, many Airstreams. I always run them at max PSI for the tire, whatever that is, and I have never had problems with anything breaking. I do know there's a lot of people who very, very strongly believe that if you run them at full pressure, things will break, but I think the reality is that it's not cause and effect. that there's other factors at play going on at those problems. So short answer is I run at full rated pressure.
Well, that's good to know, because if on Facebook that is a constant, it's a constant topic as well. Some people say, no, take them down to 60%, or 60 psi, and that way you're not bouncing everything around and everything. So, but I normally do. I keep mine at 80 as well, and so and with my TST, I can see exactly what it is at all times.
Yeah, and that's really the key. Whatever pressure you run, you got to know what's going on back there. And like I said before, you have no way of knowing if that tire's gone flat while you're towing. You will not feel it. You probably won't hear it or see it. And that happened to me. I had a tire go on me, and it took a chunk of the side of the Airstream out of there, and it was thousands of dollars of repairs.
Wow.
Put it back together. So that made a believer out of me.
Okay, so with my TST, running, you're in Arizona, I'm in Texas. In July, the roads are hot, everything is hot. What is at what point should you say, okay, these tires are really, really hot? So when you're looking at your thing, it says, obviously if you're running at 80 psi cold, they're going to jump up to 90 probably while you're driving.
Oh, more. Probably more.
Or more, yeah.
On a hot day.
So what temperature should we kind of set our alarm to on our TST to say, okay, if it gets to this temperature, you've got an issue?
Well, TST comes preset with the temperature, and there's really no reason to change it. They have the sort of tire science worked out on that one. I don't remember what the preset is. If it's something like 157 or 170. I don't remember the number, but they do all come with that upper temperature threshold preset. That's not going to ever alarm on you under normal conditions. I mean, you could be 110 degrees in West Texas, and you're going 75 miles an hour down the highway. Your tire is not going to hit that temperature unless something is wrong. If the tire is defective, if you've got a dragging brake, a bad wheel bearing, then you're going to overheat that tire, and that sensor is going to go off. So it's really not about monitoring the tire, but the temperature of the tread as much as it's measuring the temperature of the air inside the tire and just telling you, hey, if it gets this hot, something is badly wrong. Again, that's an argument for running higher tire pressures. Running lower pressures will generate more heat. So when I'm bombing down I-10 in West Texas on a hot summer day, I definitely want to be running my highest pressure. But I've never seen my tires get, even on the hottest days and the highest speeds, I don't think I've ever seen more than about 115.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, because because that was the biggest worry right when I first got the Airstream, is because I was so worried about the tires, because like in the motorhome, if you got a tire issue, you're going to know about it. And except on maybe the inner dually, you might not know about it for a while. However, on the Airstream, I was just, you've seen so many of, like even on Keep Your Daydream, one of their very first videos, they got a flat tire like 5 minutes after they left, right? And so you're always on a travel trailers, you're like, oh my gosh, am I going to get a flat? And, so I was really monitoring that, and I was looking at those temperatures, and would get up to like 110. I'm like, oh no, is this too hot? Is it too hot? So sounds like you really don't need to worry about that. But if it does set off that alarm, that means more than likely you may have a wheel locked up. You may have something severe that's not just tire pressure then.
Yeah, one time I have to correct myself. I did one day when I got my new trailer. I had some wiring problems with the brake controller. It's a long story, but the gist of it was the brakes were dragging all the time, and my tires got into the 120s for that. And I looked at that. I didn't set off the alarm. It didn't blow the tire, but when I saw it hit 120 on the display, I realized something was badly wrong. Took it in, figured out what the problem was.
Okay. Yeah, well, that probably saved you from like some severe situation there.
It was going to be a very severe situation. It was totally the fault of the truck. The brake controller wasn't working right, and the brakes were basically on just a little tiny bit all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so one more question for you that I think I finally dialed it in to where I think I'm good, but a lot of people just getting Airstreams or travel trailer. Again, this is RV related, not just Airstream. So your truck, number one, you should have a trailer brake system. Okay, and a trailer brake controller. If you've got a newer Ford or any of the the big trucks, they're going to come with a trailer brake controller, more than likely. If you have an older, you can get one installed. Okay, so Do you have any advice on setting it up with the correct amount of braking? I think I found my sweet spot at 4.
Well, it varies widely.
Okay.
The brake controller, the truck, the trailer, the whole thing, everybody's got a different number. I don't know if I have a fast method for determining that. I went through a lot of trouble with my current trailer finding the right number. I was running at about 3.75 volts max, and it was too grabby.
Okay.
And I couldn't believe it, but with my particular truck and trailer and brake controller, the optimal setting is at about 1.75, which is
really?
I know. I thought that's really strange, but that's what works best for this particular rig.
So I'm wondering if I'm to, because the way I kind of finally tested it is I would just be going, at a slow speeds and start pressing it in and just go by feel. Like I'm not locking them up, but it's slowing and kind of dragging my truck.
Well, here's the thing. You want to definitely feel that pull from the trailer. The trailer should, to a small extent, be stopping the truck. The trailer, that way the trailer has enough braking power to stop itself. So you want to feel that. But you don't want it to be the point where the trailer brakes are locking up way before the truck brakes are fully engaged. One thing I would say is if you're driving around town in stop and go, and you feel the trailer brakes locking up or you hear them squeal, as you come to a stoplight, you've got it way too high. You need to bring it down a couple of volts at a minimum, probably. If you then find a nice straight piece of highway, get up to about 45, 50 miles an hour and try to do a fairly aggressive stop. Maybe not a panic stop, but a pretty aggressive stop. Make sure there's nobody around you. You're ready to keep it going straight. And in that aggressive stop, you still should not have the brakes lock up. If you do, again, too high. Because that day you do a panic stop on the highway, the last thing you want to do is have the trailer just locked up, all 4 wheels just laying a patch on the highway. It's not actually helping you very much at that point. You want them to keep rolling. Since you don't have anti-lock brakes on your trailer, you don't want them to lock up.
Yeah.
So that's how you can kind of sense if you got it set too high. Set too low is easy. If you just go down 30, 40 miles an hour and you hit the brakes and you feel like the trailer's pushing the truck and could feel it, this is not good. You haven't got enough braking going on there. So yes, it is to a large extent feel and a lot of trial and error. And, good dealers will help you set up your brake controller. Unfortunately, I've found that good dealers are rare. And quite often they just sort of leave it to you, the customer, and like, thanks, the chip. See you later.
That's very interesting. I would say our dealer did not do that for me, but I would still consider him a good dealer. I just think they missed on that.
I think a lot of them are afraid of liability. They really fear, like the dealer I bought from actually asked me to sign a paper basically saying I would, this is the truck I was using and I knew that it probably wasn't going to work and I was going to die and it wasn't their fault. I mean, that was kind of the gist of the paper. And all they wanted to do was cover the liability. They had no interest at all in helping me out. And I really think that's a lost opportunity for dealers. I don't think they're taking on that much liability by helping you get properly hitched. Because it's not just braking, it's also hitch. I see so many people who come out with brand new Airstreams and they have no idea about weight distribution. They're not set up at all correctly, and they're very, very dangerous. And those people are driving down the road white-knuckled all the time because it feels squirrely and they don't know why. There's a big gap there in terms of what dealerships are willing to do because they're afraid of this liability, but it's a real shame. They should do more.
Yeah, I do think that dealers, especially for people that are shopping Airstream or travel trailers and don't yet have a tow vehicle, they should really counsel them about that. And if you're a leisure travel van viewer or other motorhome viewer, if you want to know the number one disputed argument on Facebook, that is, can I tow with an F-150? So with a half-ton truck, I have, and the comment is always, I don't even know what's back there, and so, but there is a lot that goes in with your tow vehicle. It's very, very important. I do think dealers really need to focus more on if somebody does not have a tow vehicle, or if they come in with a half ton, but they're wanting a 33-foot classic with all the bells and whistles. that's going to be probably too much trailer for that truck. And to be able to cancel them in order to, to make sure that they'll look at the sticker on your truck. What is that tongue weight going to be? Of course it can pull it. I mean, a Mini Cooper can pull an Airstream. The problem is, can it stop it?
Not only can it stop it, because that's actually, I think, overrated, because the trailer should stop itself. Let's put it that way. But can it take it through a series of S turns on uneven pavement?
Yeah.
That's where, literally the rubber hits the road. For example, I used to tow with an unibody, all-wheel drive mini SUV, basically. And people told me it won't work. But the fact is, it worked better than most trucks because of that. The fully independent suspension that it had, the huge four-wheel disc brakes that it had, the handling was superb. The braking was amazing. It did a really, really wonderful job. It wasn't a traditional tow vehicle, so there's more to it than just get a bigger truck. And unfortunately, that's where I think if dealers really did, in our ideal world, counsel people more about towing, 90% of the time they would just say, get a bigger truck. What people say on the internet as well. So I feel really conflicted about this issue because, there's an intelligence that needs to be applied to towing about weight distribution, about brake controllers, about tow vehicle suspensions and how your hitch is set up and, all these things. And it's complicated and nobody really wants to think about it. And I kind of wish there was a better way, because basically almost everybody is inventing their own setup. This trailer, this hitch, this receiver, and this truck, and this brake controller. And with all those variables, you're expected to design a system that works for you. It's too much to ask of the average person. If it was a little more standardized, it would be much easier. So I don't know. You got me on a little bit of a rant here, but I really feel like debating it on the internet is probably detrimental to the whole thing, because there's so many people with opinions and they really don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's painful to watch sometimes. I don't give hitch advice. People call me and I'm like, I'm sorry. I just, if I'm not there, I can't help you.
Right.
Which is why, again, I wish the dealers would get more involved, but I can see why they don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. But I obviously educating their customer, again, if they do not have a tow vehicle yet, advising them on, because obviously if you do have a half-ton truck, probably the best thing to do for a larger is either a Hensley hitch or a Pro Pride. I do think that would help in your maneuverability, obviously, or getting the size trailer that will work for the vehicle that they do have, and so, because that's the one thing is safety. I mean, you're pulling, it's not just your investment that you're pulling down the road, and in case you do have a sudden stop or you do need to avoid traffic at 70 miles an hour. But yeah, it's a safety issue. And so, just because it can pull, it doesn't mean it should, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. And also, I will say, just because it's big doesn't mean it's invulnerable.
True.
One of the problems I see, the opposite problem, is that people get a really big truck, but then they figure, I'm good. And they don't think about the hitch. They don't think about weight distribution. They don't think about setting up that brake controller.
Yeah.
And they, as a result, they're overconfident, and then they don't realize what a mistake they made until the rollover happens.
Yeah. Because I do see that as well. People saying, well, I have a 1 ton, and so I don't even use weight distribution, or I don't use sway, I don't put my sway bars on. Yeah, I definitely don't think, that is wise at all. I do think weight distribution, I do think sway control, all of that is paramount when you're towing something down the road that has the potential to hurt people.
Yeah,
and
exactly. It's a responsibility to not only to yourself, but to the person you might hit, or a passenger who's in your car, or the dog in the back seat. Yeah. It's just, it's a complicated subject. And I don't think the debates are going to stop anytime soon.
No, definitely won't. And so anyway, well, Rich, I've had you on here for almost an hour now. And so I think we'll come to a close, but I will want to say something. You and Cheryl sent me the most nice handwritten note. I sincerely thank you for that. I mean, that was very, very nice. My mother has been diagnosed with something, and so you guys, that meant the world. So that was very kind. And in a day where handwritten notes are few and far between, Thank you for that.
You're absolutely welcome. We've been where you are, so we get it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So anyway, okay. So I will put all of the links to everything we talked about down below. Some of them are Airstream specific, but most of them hoses, water filtration, all of these good things, absolutely for any RVs. And I will say a ton of leisure travel vans now have your water hose on them. And so, everybody's like getting rid of the others. And so this is a fantastic hose. So I think it's great. Your water you shouldn't mess with, right? That's, you're drinking, your dogs are drinking it, and brushing your teeth. You know what? When you said that, I'm like, man, I'm such an idiot. I'd brush my teeth straight out of the tank. How gross is that? And so I'm like, okay, yeah, you sold me for sure. I didn't even think about that. So, because we go to so much trouble with the drinking water, but not the teeth brushing water. So anyway, okay, so yeah. So links. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've had a fantastic time. The hour flew by. Didn't even notice.
Absolutely. So I love talking to you guys, and we still got to meet out up on the road, and and make sure we can Airstream together. So we love our Airstream. But again, I will put all the links that we talked about down there. You can also go to pagosasupply.co. I have an entire section for Airstreams, entire section for LTVs of all of your must-haves. And of course, air gear stuff is all over that. So, but with that being said, we will see you and hopefully have another conversation on down the road where we're going to learn more about Airstreaming and RVing with Rich Luhr. So thanks, Rich.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it. See you later.